People will always have a reason for anything they fucking do in this world. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, right? A coffee's good for you. It gives you this and that. I'm not here to argue about the benefits or the consequences of having coffee. What I'm talking about is going upstream, going to the source. If coffee is something that is dependent of you and you're having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 shots a day, that is something that you are dependent on. That's an addiction, man. You're fucking addicted to that. I don't care how healthy it is. I don't care if it's something that some ancient cat shat out after fucking eating it and they've made some sort of special coffee bean out of it in the Himalayas. I don't care. At the end of the day, it's not so much the ingredients or the nutrients that is destroying you. It's the coping mechanism, the escape, and the addiction that you have to that, which becomes an attachment and an unhealthy attachment. It's no different to exercise. Being in the health and fitness space earlier on in my life, I saw that. People would escape certain addictions and then attach on to other addictions. Now look, is it a healthy addiction? Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, if you're training 6, 7 days a week chronically, and your body, like in terms of your body awareness and confidence, self-esteem, what defines you, your identity, like, is bound by one singular thing. And trust me, like I love, and we're going to dive into 3 key areas on how to start going all in this episode. But if your body is something that is an addictive form to validate or justify who you are, that was me, man, as an elite athlete. My body and my performance defined who I was. So when I lost that through operations and other challenges and hurdles, becoming a father, not being able to train as much as I wanted to, losing sleep, it fucking crushed me, man. I didn't know who I was anymore. So anything can become an addiction, and any great thing can become something that becomes your downfall. If I'm going to be addicted to anything, with truth and transparency for all of you, I'm addicted to growth. Like, it's not that it's a bad thing, fellas, when you have certain types of addictive behaviors. That's part of our natural makeup as human beings. The question is, where are you steering the nature of where these addictions can take you? Where are you steering these preconceived ideas of this is the answer, this is the pathway forward, this is who I will become? And are you constantly analyzing and reviewing that? So whilst I'm addicted to growth, it's actually essentially it's out of a hate and a disgust for waste. I just fucking hate waste, man. I can't stand it. Like, life is too much of a precious gift for us to sit back on our fucking hands and just waste it. But whilst I have this addiction to growth, there are times where I break the pattern. And maybe addiction is the word, maybe it isn't. What I'm saying is we find coping mechanisms or things that we attach onto or things that we use as a crutch to validate who we are or to drive a certain style or way of living. So if I let this, say, addiction before growth get out of hand, it becomes too much, too heavy. My family suffers, my wife suffers. Maybe people aren't as ambitious as me. Maybe I'm judging, engaging what growth looks like, right? From my perspective, or what I believe growing as a human being should be, where other people might have different things. Like, I might think growing is business, right? But at the end of the day, fellas, when we're looking at certain addictions, if they are pulling you out of alignment, and this is why our principles are so valuable inside of HPF, one of them being the founding principle, the circle of significance, family, self, and service. If it's pulling you out of alignment, you need to address that. You need to have a pattern interrupting, okay, I'm not really going all in on life, and this is what. And I've had that. I had the addiction to exercise. I wouldn't say I had an addiction to pornography, but back in the past, yeah, there were times where I was watching it way more than I fucking should have to start with. And secondly, it was a coping mechanism and an escape. Yeah, my wife just had our baby, had a cesarean. Obviously, as all of you men know, whether they birth a child naturally or have a cesarean, that means that nookie time goes down. And for us as men, that's not the only way, but it's a very high, deeper way that we communicate. Just like a high and deep way that women communicate is sensory or through words and emotions. But at the end of the day, that was a choice that I made, and it wasn't something that I was clear to either work through. I didn't set, not a deadline, but I didn't set a passage of time to go, you know what, this will pass. Let's just be fucking patient. Let's play the long game. And all these different stories enter my head, which is what I said earlier. No matter what you do, you'll always have a fucking reason to justify it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. Every single thing that's happened in this world, from murderers to bloody the reason why there's things like AA in place and all these people buying guns and shooting people or stabbing people or cheating on each other and all the craziest shit and all the great things as well. This isn't just fucking a story about darkness. This is about understanding that at the end of the day, every single thing, the good, the bad, and the ugly that has been done inside of this world had a reasoning behind it. People might go, oh, no, I just did that for no reason. And no, you did. You just don't quite understand the reason, or maybe you don't have a level of self-awareness to know why. Just like maybe some of you guys who every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you get on the drink, and that's just how you unwind because you've earned that right because you've worked hard for the week. Great. That's a fucking reason. That's a story. How's that improving your life? How's that making you a better man or husband or father? So we need to actually triage ourselves and just peel the layers back one by one. And unfortunately, most people only go 1 or 2 layers deep. When you really go deep into it and you look at your habits or your addictions or things that are a coping mechanism. Now, coffee's really good for you. Look, I only have 2 double shots a day, and sometimes I'll have a third if I have a really big day. And I feel okay. And you know what? I get moving and the family gets what they need and blah, blah, and you work through that. When you continually peel the layers back, you understand that you're losing control in certain areas. You're losing control through certain things, certain devices, certain coping mechanisms. And these are all here to either fill a void that's missing inside of your life or hit a chemical response or reaction, whether it's the happy hormones, endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, or serotonin, whether it's the happy hormones or something to help you validate your position, feel significant, feel important. When we do these things, gentlemen, it's because we don't feel important. More often than not, we talk about self-love and self-hate and all these different things. Let's make it really simple. The reason why you'll resort to certain things is because there is a lack of self-importance, or there is a lack of perceived importance through the eyes of others that you're making judgment on, or maybe getting feedback on as well. But I'll have you ask yourself this question, or have you consider this. Maybe you're not adding enough value to those around you, or selling yourself on why you're valuable to those around you, or finding out what value looks like to those around you, so you can then bridge the gap between what you want, staying true to your values and what you do, and what you can provide for with your children, your wife, your workers, colleagues, or clients.